The year is 2014. In the scorching heat of the Iraqi summer, a city of 2 million souls trembles on the precipice of hell. Mosul, once a beacon of culture and commerce, is about to fall into the grasp of the most feared terrorist organization in modern history. As the world watches in horror, ISIS fighters clad in black and wielding weapons of destruction march towards the gates. The stage is set for a tragedy that will shake the foundations of the Middle East and beyond. How did we get here? What unspeakable atrocities await the people of Mosul? As the first light of dawn painted the skies over Mosul on June 10, 2014, an eerie stillness enveloped the ancient city. The air hung heavy with an unspoken dread, a palpable tension that seemed to whisper of impending doom. Mosul, a jewel of Iraqi culture and commerce for millennia, stood on the precipice of a nightmare that would soon engulf its 2 million inhabitants. The Iraqi army, once a formidable force that struck fear into the hearts of its enemies, now stood as a mere shadow of its former glory. Years of corruption, sectarian divisions, and mismanagement had hollowed out its ranks, leaving behind a facade of strength that would soon crumble under the slightest pressure. As reports began to circulate of a small band of ISIS fighters approaching the city's outskirts, the fragility of Mosul's defenses became painfully apparent. The sound of sporadic gunfire echoed through the winding alleyways, growing ever closer with each passing hour. Residents peered anxiously from windows and doorways, their faces etched with disbelief as they witnessed the unthinkable unfold before their eyes. Iraqi soldiers, their spirits broken and morale shattered, began to abandon their posts in droves. The very men sworn to protect Mosul were now fleeing, shedding their uniforms like snakes discarding old skin, leaving the populace to face an uncertain and terrifying fate. As the day wore on, Mosul's defenses collapsed like a house of cards in a hurricane. Each checkpoint fell in rapid succession, the city's security infrastructure unraveling with breathtaking speed. The black-clad fighters of ISIS, their faces hidden behind masks of hatred, swept through the streets with a fervor that spoke of a dark and twisted mission. Their advance was relentless, fueled by a combination of religious zeal and brutal efficiency that left the remaining defenders reeling. By nightfall, the unthinkable had become reality. The black flag of ISIS, a banner that would soon become synonymous with terror and oppression, fluttered ominously over government buildings. The fall of Mosul, a city of 2 million souls, had been accomplished in less than 24 hours by a force of merely 1,500 ISIS fighters. It was a military disaster of epic proportions, a collapse so swift and complete that it sent shockwaves through the international community. The residents of Mosul, now trapped in a city under the control of one of the most feared terrorist organizations in modern history, faced a future fraught with uncertainty and horror. The stage was set for a reign of terror that would shock the conscience of the world and rewrite the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. As the sun rose on June 11, 2014, Mosul awoke to a new terrifying reality. The once vibrant city of 2 million souls now lay in the iron grip of ISIS, its ancient streets echoing with the footsteps of black-clad fighters drunk on victory. The fall of Mosul, accomplished in less than 24 hours, was not merely a military defeat. It marked the brutal birth of a so-called caliphate, a dark empire built on the bones of the innocent. The transformation of Mosul began with chilling swiftness. From mosque loudspeakers, the first edicts of ISIS's twisted vision of Islamic law thundered across the city. Each proclamation, more draconian than the last, sent shockwaves through the populace. Women, once free to walk the streets unveiled, now found themselves ordered to cover completely, their voices silenced in public under threat of severe punishment. The diverse tapestry of Mosul's religious communities woven over centuries, began to unravel as minorities faced an impossible ultimatum: convert, pay a tax, or face execution. As ISIS tightened its grip, the rich cultural heritage that had defined Mosul for millennia became a target. The sound of explosions echoed through the city as ancient sites were reduced to rubble, artifacts that had survived countless conquerors now falling victim to ISIS's campaign of cultural obliteration. The destruction of the Mosul Museum and the ancient city of Nimrud served as a grim testament to the group's determination to erase all traces of history that did not align with their warped ideology. The streets of Mosul, once filled with the bustle of commerce and the laughter of children, now fell silent under the weight of oppression. Public executions became a gruesome spectacle, designed to instill fear and obedience in a population already reeling from shock. One resident, his voice trembling with disbelief, recounted, "We watched in horror as our city was transformed overnight into a prison, with the black flag of ISIS flying over our homes." The atmosphere of terror was palpable, with every aspect of daily life now subject to the capricious and brutal enforcement of ISIS's laws. Within days, Mosul had become the crown jewel of ISIS's self-proclaimed caliphate, a grim showcase of their barbaric ideology and governance. The implementation of their rule was marked by extreme violence and oppression, with punishments, including amputations and executions, serving as a stark warning to those who might dare to resist. The once proud city now stood as a fortress of fear, its residents trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed no escape. As news of Mosul's fate spread across the globe, the international community watched in horror, grappling with the implications of ISIS's rapid ascent to power. The fall of this ancient metropolis had rewritten the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East overnight, leaving world leaders scrambling to respond to a threat that had suddenly become all too real. As the dust settled on the ruins of Mosul, a city now under the iron grip of ISIS, the world recoiled in horror. The fall of Iraqi's second-largest metropolis sent shockwaves through the international community, leaving world leaders and diplomats scrambling to comprehend the magnitude of this catastrophe. The black flag of terror, now fluttering over government buildings, became a chilling symbol of a new, dark chapter in the annals of modern conflict. In the days that followed, a torrent of grim reports flooded out of Mosul, each more horrifying than the last. Mass executions, carried out with cold efficiency, painted the streets red with the blood of those deemed enemies of the self-proclaimed caliphate. The screams of women and girls torn from their families to face the unthinkable fate of sexual slavery echoed through the corridors of power in capitals across the globe. These atrocities, documented by human rights organizations, drew widespread condemnation and ignited calls for immediate intervention. As the world watched in stunned disbelief, ISIS transformed Mosul into a macabre stage for its twisted ideology. Satellite imagery revealed the systematic destruction of the city's rich cultural heritage, millennia of history reduced to rubble in a matter of days. The Mosul Museum, once a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, now stood as a silent witness to the group's campaign of cultural obliteration. Each explosion, each act of vandalism, served as a stark reminder of ISIS's determination to erase all traces of the past that did not align with their warped vision of the future. The humanitarian crisis that unfolded in the wake of Mosul's fall was nothing short of catastrophic. Refugee camps on the outskirts of the city swelled to bursting, a sea of tents stretching as far as the eye could see. Thousands of desperate souls, having fled the horrors of ISIS rule, now found themselves trapped in a limbo of despair. The international aid community, already stretched thin by conflicts across the region, struggled to meet the basic needs of this growing tide of displaced persons. As the true extent of ISIS's brutality came to light, even hardened observers of Middle Eastern conflicts found themselves shocked by the group's capacity for cruelty. The fall of Mosul marked a turning point in the war against extremism, a stark reminder of the devastating potential of unchecked fanaticism. The city's capture served as a wake-up call, forcing world powers to confront the harsh reality that traditional methods of counterterrorism were woefully inadequate in the face of this new threat. Despite the international outrage and the chorus of voices calling for action, a concrete plan to liberate Mosul remained frustratingly elusive. The geopolitical landscape of the region, already a complex web of competing interests and historical animosities, now seemed more intractable than ever. As days turned to weeks and weeks to months, the residents of Mosul found themselves trapped in a nightmarish limbo, their hopes for salvation fading with each passing day. The fall of Mosul became a symbol of ISIS's terrifying potential to wreak havoc on a scale previously unimaginable. It forced a reevaluation of global counterterrorism strategies, exposing the glaring inadequacies in the world's ability to respond to such a rapidly evolving threat. As governments and intelligence agencies grappled with this new reality, one question loomed large. How had a group dismissed as a JV team just months earlier managed to capture a city of 2 million souls in less than 24 hours? As the dust settled on the ruins of Mosul, the world was left to grapple with the chilling aftermath of ISIS's brutal conquest. The fall of this ancient city stands as a stark testament to the fragility of civilization in the face of extremist ideology. In the years that followed, the echoes of that fateful day in June 2014 continued to reverberate across the globe, a haunting reminder of the devastating human cost of terror.